What's up, everyone? This is the Next Day Podcast, episode 141 with Mikel
and Tanyka.
where we have conversations on different topics. So today is part 2 of our Halloween series. And if you haven't heard our part 1 series, go check it out. It's basically about is it spontaneous?
Superstitions.
Yes, my bad. Superstitions. Superstitions. I don't know where I got spontaneous from, but yeah, check
Oh,
that out. And hopefully you guys will find it really, really interesting. All right. Second episode will be starting, and Tanika will share the topic about this second part of our Halloween series. Go ahead, Tanika.
so we're going to be talking about cryptids. We're going to talk about some of the, I can't remember how many we talk about, but we're going to be
Mm-hmm.
talking about, some cryptids. We're going to talk about like where cryptids kind of came from,
Mm-hmm.
all of that fun stuff. So before we head into it, Mikhail, have you heard about cryptids? Do you know
Cryptid?
what cryptids are?
No, I don't know what cryptids are. To
Okay.
be honest with you.
You probably have an idea of what cryptids are, but you probably don't realize they're called cryptids.
Mm,
So, for example, like Mothman. Have you heard about Mothman?
no, I haven't
Really?
heard of that. No. Huh?
Okay. Um, I don't know if they necessarily would classify like Bigfoot as a cryptid, but maybe even like kind of that's kind of an idea, something that people say they see,
Mm,
say they've encountered,
mm,
but didn't really encounter. Usually are created. They're stories that people kind of, blow out of proportion a little bit, but have fun with it. It is what it is.
mhm,
So, but anyways, the real definition of what a cryptid is. So, cryptids are animals or other beings whose
mhm,
present existence is disputed or substantiated by science, cryptozoology, it's fine. It's not a real thing. It's fine. Cryptozoology, the study of cryptids, is a pseudoscience claiming that such beings may exist somewhere in the wild, has been
mhm,
widely critiqued by scientists. The subculture is regularly criticized for reliance on anecdotal information, and because in the course of investigating animals, most scientists believe are unlikely to have existed, cryptozoology do not follow the scientific method. Many
mhm,
scientists have criticized the plausibility of cryptids due to lack of physical evidence, likely misidentification. So, example like the Loch Ness monster, that would be considered a cryptid. People
mhm,
think they see it, people think it's real, but there's just no physical proof that Nessie's out there somewhere.
mm,
That's an example. Um, and misinterpretation of stories from folklore. We'll get into that. While biologists regularly identify new species following established scientific mythology, cryptozoologists focus on entities mentioned in the folklore record and rumor. So we'll kind of go through a list of some of them.
mhm.
And like I said, we are going to more focus on at least one. I can't remember if I did two, but at least definitely one. So, Bigfoot, as I've mentioned, is a
Mhm.
cryptid. Also known as Sasquatch, Bigfoot is one of the most well-known cryptids. Sightings of this large ape-like creature have been reported in North America for centuries.
Mhm.
Despite numerous sightings and alleged evidence, no conclusive proof of Bigfoot's existence has ever been found. Do you believe in Bigfoot?
No, I don't
No,
believe Bigfoot. I never
I
did.
don't believe in Bigfoot. It's probably just a really big bear. I don't think
Yeah,
Bigfoot's a real thing.
yeah, yeah. I don't think Bigfoot's a real thing.
No.
I don't know why people think that Bigfoot's a real thing.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
fair.
People, I mean, people have taken pictures of what they think is Bigfoot,
Hmm.
and I'll say it's interesting,
Hmm.
but I still can't believe that there's a bear-like humanoid creature out there roaming the woods. I just This just doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, the next one, another one that I just mentioned before too, Loch Ness Monster. The Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, as it is commonly known, is a creature that is said to inhabit Loch Ness in Scotland. Descriptions of the creature vary, but most agree that it is a large aquatic animal with a long neck and humps on its back.
Hmm.
Despite numerous expeditions and studies, no solid evidence of the Loch Ness Monster has ever been found. Mothman, as I've just mentioned him, the Mothman is a creature that was first sighted near Point Pleasant, West Virginia in the 1960s.
Hmm.
Descriptions of the creature vary, but most agree that it is a large winged humanoid with glowing red eyes. The Mothman is said to be a harbinger of disaster. Uh, If anyone who has known the stories um of Mothman,
Hmm.
either it's this says harbinger of disaster, or there's also been the other side where people think that is there to actually warn about disaster. So it goes on both sides.
Yeah, I
Um,
do. I do believe that. Sorry if I'm a little late. I do believe there's a Loch Ness monster.
oh, you do?
Yeah,
I
out there.
don't.
So,
I don't.
mm-hmm.
If if there ever was a Loch Ness monster or something that looks like Nessie, um, I think it is long gone. I think it is most likely extinct. I think it was maybe a more of like an old creature, not like a dinosaur necessarily, but something kind of like that. That I don't think it exists today. I don't think there is Nessie out there now. That's what I think, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
um
I feel like there's a higher chance. Like if there's a higher chance of seeing a big whale, I understand that.
it's not a whale.
I
Like, it doesn't
understand
look
it's
like
not
a
a.
whale.
I'm not. Look, listen. I understand it's not a
Okay.
whale, but if
It looks
you see
like a lizard
if you
or a snake.
see, or an eel, like if there, like if
Mm,
there's, and
yeah.
yeah, if
Eels are
there's,
not that big and still doesn't it looks like Nessie looks more like an aquatic like dragon. Eh, but dragons aren't real. But you know
mm,
what I'm trying to say? It's just like it
mm,
kind of reminds me of like
mm,
those Chinese looking dragons.
mm,
And that's what it kind of looks like, or what people
mm,
say it looks like.
mm. Okay.
I don't know. I think Nessie is just as plausible for me as Bigfoot. Yes, there is photographic proof, quote unquote, that people have taken of Nessie, but I it's no more plausible to me than Bigfoot. I don't know. Mothman, um, so like I said, it is said to be a harbinger of disaster, as it was sighted just before the collapse of the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant in 1967. So people who were there when that bridge collapsed say that they saw what they call Mothman, and that it was there, I think, like mere minutes or before this bridge collapsed. Um, Now, do I think Mothman is real? I don't know. I don't know. I know maybe Mikel doesn't have as much of a something to say on this because he didn't hear of Mothman before this, but
Mhm.
I've heard about Mothman, I would say for the better part of like 3, 4 years now. I hadn't heard about it before. Um, it's an interesting story that this creature could have been real. Yes, people describe it as Mothman, but it maybe doesn't actually look like a Mothman. Maybe it's like a huge ass bat. Who knows?
Uh-huh.
But if Mothman was real, because no one has really seen Mothman in this century,
Uh-huh.
but if Mothman was ever real, I say it most likely would have been real in the 60s and or around in the 60s, and it probably just is probably deceased at this point.
Uh-huh.
And that's probably why people don't see it so much now as they did back in like the 60s or 70s around then.
All right.
So who knows? Who knows? Another one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's Coopacabra. Coopacabra. I got it. So the Chupacabra, or goat sucker, that's disgusting, as it sometimes is called, is a creature that is said to inhabit parts of the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
Description of the creature vary, but most agree that it is a bipedal, reptilian-like creature with spines or quills on its back. The Chupacabra is said to attack and suck the blood of livestock, hence its name. Okay, yes, I've heard of the Chupacabra now. Um, there was like a whole thing that the people were blaming the Chupacabra for livestock dying and all that. Yeah, so yeah, I did hear about that. But eh, mm, is it possible that that could have existed, or some sort of creature that was killing livestock was around? Sure. I don't think it's crazy to think that there's something killing livestock.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the part that's weird for me is the fact that it was literally draining the blood out of the livestock. And do I believe that people say that that is what happened? Yes. Do I think that this weird ass creature was doing it? I don't know. But that
Mm-hmm.
is weird. That is very weird. Some sort of vampire creature. That's weird. Anyway, the Jersey Devil. Have you heard of the Jersey Devil?
Jersey.
No?
No, I haven't heard of that one. No.
Okay. The Jersey Devil is a creature that is said to inhabit the Pine Barrens of southern New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Descriptions of the creature vary, but most agree that it is a winged creature with hooves and a goat like head, so potentially the devil, who knows? Sightings of the Jersey Devil date back to the 18th century, and it continues to be a popular topic of discussion in the region. Again, don't think that actually existed, but
Mm-hmm.
I digress. This one is one that I think you will know, the Yeti.
Yeah.
So, hmm?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
heard of that one. Yeah.
The Yeti, also known as the Abominable Snowman, is a creature that is said to inhabit the Himalayan region of Nepal, Bhutan, and Tibet. Descriptions of the creature vary, but most agree that it is a large ape-like creature that is covered in fur. So maybe a freaking polar bear, but who knows? Despite numerous expeditions and studies, no conclusive proof of the Yeti's existence has ever been found.
Mm.
Now, this crazy ass creature, the Mongolian deathworm.
Nope.
Yikes.
Never heard of it.
This one I've only heard about in maybe the last year or so. Um, but
Wait,
this one's
wait, hold on. Does it live underground?
the Mongolian deathworm.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It doesn't say that it
Mm.
does, but who knows? Could be. Um, so the Mongolian deathworm is a creature that is said to inhabit the Gobi Desert in Mongolia.
Mm-hmm.
Descriptions of the creature vary, but most agree that it is a large red worm-like creature that is capable of spitting acid. Lord.
Yeah. That. Yeah.
The Mongolian deathworm is said to be highly venomous and is feared by many in the region. Do I think there is a possibility that there is a Mongolian deathworm? 100%. 100% do I think that's possible. Do I want to find out if it is possible? No.
Mhm.
No, thank
Mm.
you. But I do think that that could very well exist.
Mm.
Thunderbird. The thunderbird is a creature that is said to inhabit parts of North America.
Mhm.
Descriptions of the creature vary, but most agree that it is a large bird-like creature with a wingspan of up to 20 feet. The thunderbird is said to be capable of creating thunder and lightning with the flapping of its wings. Great. I will
Mm.
say, though, before I go on to the next one, this is going to make me sound absolutely crazy, but I swear I saw this. I can't even explain more. That made me think of there was a time when I
Mm.
was young,
Mhm.
um, where we were living. We lived there until I was about 9 years old. So before then, maybe six, seven, and the house that we were in had like not necessarily I wouldn't consider like a bay window, but it was a big window that faced the street. Um, and I was standing by the window and I remember and I swear I don't know what the hell. I saw this big freaking bird just land in the street. Whether I was dreaming or I really saw this, I'll never know.
Mhm.
And I don't remember, but I
Mm.
remember seeing this big freaking bird land in the road. And I remember I think my grandma was there. I don't know where my mom was, if she was
Mhm.
there or not, but I remember trying to get my grandma's attention to show her this bird. But when I went back, the bird was gone. I like I said, this is something I don't think I've said this to anybody actually. I'm saying
Mm.
it to all y'all. But I saw this thing and I'm like, what the hell?
Mm.
And to this day now I'm talking this is almost 30 years later. I my memory is very foggy,
Mhm.
but the one thing that I remember is seeing it. It kind of looked
Mm.
like a crow, a big
Mhm.
freaking crow that was just there. And and it was just gone.
Mm.
And it was so weird, but that's that one particular cryptid made me think of that. Anyways,
Mm.
the next one, Dover Demon. The Dover Demon is a creature that was first sighted in Dover, Massachusetts in 1977. Descriptions of the creature vary, but most agree that it is a small humanoid creature with glowing eyes and skin that resembles that of a frog or reptile. The Dover Demon was only sighted for a few days before disappearing, and it continues to be a mystery to this day.
Mm.
This one I'm gonna butcher. Mokele Membi.
Mhm.
Um, so the Mokele Membi is a creature that is said to inhabit the Congo River basin in Africa.
Mm.
Descriptions of the creature vary, but most agree that it is a large sauropod-like creature with a long neck and tail. The
Mhm.
Mokele Membi is said to be highly elusive and is rarely seen by humans. So who
Mhm.
knows? So that's cryptids.
Mhm.
I want to kind of move a little bit more into creepy pastas. So that's a little different than a
Mm.
cryptid.
Right.
Creepy pastas are legitimate fictional horror-like stories.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so it's a horror-related legend which has been shared around the internet. The term creepypasta has since become a catch-all term for any horror content posted onto the internet. These entries are often brief, user-generated, paranormal stories that are intended to frighten readers.
Mhm.
The subjects of creepypasta vary widely and can include topics such as ghosts, cryptids, murder, suicide, zombies, aliens, rituals to summon new supernatural entities,
Mm.
haunted television shows, and
Mhm.
video games. Creepypastas range in length from a single paragraph to extended multi-part series that can
Mhm.
span multiple media types, some lasting for years. In
Mm.
the mainstream media, creepypastas relating to the fictionist Slender Man creator came to public attention after the 2014 Slender Man stabbing. More on that in a minute.
Mm.
in which a 12-year-old girl was stabbed by two of her friends. The perpetrators claimed they wanted to prove the Slender Man skeptics wrong. Now, you've heard of Slender Man, right?
No, I haven't heard of Thunderman.
Really?
No,
Okay.
no, unless you're
I'm
talking
gonna
about
send you a picture of Slender Man in a minute.
unless you're talking about like a made up superhero.
Nope.
That's not
Nope.
related to
This is
either.
not a superhero. I'm telling you
Okay.
that. Slender
Uh,
Man has creeped me out since I first heard of him.
mhm,
The picture of Slender Man is creepy as
mhm,
hell.
mhm,
We'll describe him, but I will be sending you a picture.
mm,
You can even Google it. Everyone else, I'm sure you've heard of Slender Man and you know what it looks like. You're probably seeing those pictures in your head right now.
mhm,
It is creepy as hell. Okay.
mhm,
So,
mhm,
after the murder attempt, some creepypasta website administrators made statements reminding readers of the line between fiction and reality.
mhm,
So, I'm not going to touch on more about that yet because I am talking about Slender Man.
mhm,
So, the Slender Man, also called Slender Man, and all one word, Slender or Slendy. Slendy sounds way too cute for this thing. It's a fictional supernatural character that originated as a creepypasta internet meme created by Something Awful forum user Eric Knudsen, also known as
mhm,
Victor Surge, in
mhm,
2009.
mhm,
He is depicted as a thin, unnaturally tall humanoid with a featureless white head and face wearing a black suit.
mhm,
Now, I want to get a good picture of him because I want to really freak you out. Okay. Stories of the Slender Man commonly feature his stalking, abducting, or traumatizing people, particularly children. The
mhm,
Slender Man has become a pop culture icon, although he is not confined to a single narrative but appears in many disparate works of fiction, typically composed online.
right,
Fiction relating to the Slender Man encompasses many media, including literature, art, and
mhm,
video series such as
mhm,
Marble Hornets, wherein he is known as the Operator. Um, Beginning in 2014, a moral panic occurred over the Slender Man after readers of his fiction were connected to several violent acts. So there's been many things that have happened surrounding Slender Man,
mhm,
but in particular, a near fatal stabbing of a 12-year-old girl who we just recently talked about a minute ago in
mhm,
Wisconsin.
mhm,
The stabbing inspired the documentary Beware the Slender Man, which was released in 2016.
mhm,
Because the Slenderman fictional mythology has evolved without an official canon for reference, his appearance, motives, habits, and abilities are not fixed by change depending on the storyteller. He's most commonly described as very tall and thin with unnaturally long tentacle-like arms or appendages resembling tentacles that appear from his back,
mhm,
which he can extend to intimidate or capture prey. In most stories, his face is white and featureless, but occasionally his face appears differently to anyone who sees it. He appears to be wearing a dark suit and tie.
mhm,
The Slender Man is often associated with the forest and or abandoned locations and has the ability to teleport. So lovely. Proximity to the Slender Man is often said to trigger a slender sickness, which is a rapid onset of paranoia, nightmares, and delusions accompanied by nosebleeds. Early stories featured him targeting children or young adults. Some featured young adults driven insane or influenced to act on his behalf. Others included the idea that investigating the Slender Man will draw his attention. The web series Marble Hornets established the idea of proxies, who were humans who fall under the Slender Man's influence. Initially depicted as simply violently insane, became to be portrayed as puppets of the Slender Man. Marble Hornets also introduced the idea that the Slender Man could interfere with video and audio recordings, as well as
mhm,
the Slender Man symbol,
mhm,
which kind of looks like a circle with
mhm,
an X through it,
mhm,
which became a common trope of Slender fiction. Graphic violence and body horror are uncommon in the Slender Man mythos, with many narratives choosing to leave the fate of his victims obscure. Shia Chess notes that, quote, It is important to note that few of the retellings identify exactly what kind of monster the Slender Man might be and what his intentions are. These points all remain mysteriously and usefully vague.
Mm,
So, we did talk about the fact that Slender Man was created on June 10th, 2009, in a thread on the internet. The thread was a Photoshop contest in which users were challenged to create paranormal images. Forum poster Eric Knudsen, under the pseudonym Victor Surge, contributed two black and white images of groups of children, to which he added a tall, thin, spectacle figure wearing a black suit.
mm,
Although previous entries had consisted solely of photographs, Surge supplemented his submission with snatches of text,
mm,
supposedly from witnesses, describing the abductions of the groups of children and giving the character the name the Slender Man. I don't remember if I grabbed those photos, but yeah.
mm, mm,
Um, so let me kind of go past this a little bit. Um, so the development. So in 2012, the Slender Man was adapted into a video game titled Slender, the 8 pages,
mm,
and
mm,
the official website crashed after too many people tried to download the game. Several
mm,
popular variants of the game followed, including Slender Man Shadow, Slender, Source, later renamed to Faceless for copyright concerns, and Slender Rising for iOS. The sequel to Slender, the 8 pages, Slender the Arrival, was released in 2013.
mm,
Several independent films about the Slender Man have been released or are in development, including Entity and The Slender Man in 2013, released free online after a released free online after a $10,000 Kickstarter campaign. In
mm.
2013, Verity announced that Marble Hornets would become a feature film. This would later become Always Watching, a Marble Hornet story in 2015. Now,
Mm,
it's going to get dark and it's going to get real because obviously, so far, Slender Man, we know he's not real,
mm.
but we're going to go into something very real. But before I do, I want to send you a picture of the Slender Man, but I want to show you real creepy ass picture of the Slender Man. Yes, this is the one. This freaking picture creeps the freaking hell out of me. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm doing to this to you. We're literally recording this at midnight. Um, but I wish you luck with sleeping tonight. For me, anyways, I can't. All right. So I just sent it to you. Tell me what you think.
Oh, Splendor. Oh, I see.
Now you know who he is.
Okay, I know. I thought you were talking about some type of like star or something like that,
Nope. Nope.
or like some sea star or something.
Nope.
Like, oh, okay.
Yep,
Yeah,
that is Slender
yeah,
Man.
yeah, yeah. I've seen. It's been like animation.
Yep.
Uh,
As we've talked about with like the video
yeah,
games and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
all that stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And he like, okay, I know he's not real. For me, I'm just like, he just creeps me out. The
Mhm,
pictures, everything, it creeps me out. Um, but I know he's not real.
mhm,
But there are unfortunately people who do believe he was real, children
mhm,
especially.
mhm, mhm,
And this is where we're heading into, and this is why I'm saying this is getting dark, this is getting real. So
mhm,
on
mhm,
May 31st, 2014, two 12-year-old girls in Wisconsin had held down and stabbed a 12-year-old classmate 19 times.
mhm,
When questioned later by authorities, they reportedly claimed that they wished to commit a murder as a first step to becoming proxies for the Slender Man, having read about it online. We just talked about the proxies. They also stated that they were afraid that Slender Man would kill their families if they did not commit the murder. After the perpetrators left the scene, the victim crawled out of the woods to a roadway. A passing cyclist alerted authorities, and the victim survived the attack, which is absolutely incredible. Both attackers were diagnosed with mental illnesses,
mhm,
but were charged as adults and faced up to 65 years in prison. One of the girls reportedly said Slenderman watches her, could read minds, and could teleport, which we talked about the teleportation. Um, I know this is a hot topic, And I don't want to get too much into that so much, but I do want to say these girls were 12 years old when they committed this attack. Obviously, I want the victims to feel safe and all of that, because obviously the victims meaning this little girl and her family.
Mhm.
But well, she's not a little girl anymore, but she like she's an adult now. But I do think charging 2 12-year-old girls as adults and having them imprisoned for 65 years when really all they needed was some medication and some reality, that
Mhm.
they could have realized their issue, they, what they did was completely wrong, and could learn from that and actually get rehabilitated and maybe have a chance at having a normal life at some point.
Mhm. Mhm.
65 years for 12-year-old girls is insane to me, but I
Yeah,
digress.
that's crazy.
It is crazy,
Mhm.
but back to this. Experts
Mhm.
testified in court, but she also says she conversed with, oh my God, with Lord Voldemort and one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I want to know which one she was talking
Mhm.
to.
Mhm.
Lord Voldemort? Lord, girl. Oh no. Like, really? If she really is true, like this, I didn't know all of this. If she really truly believed a Slender Man is real, uh, I don't know, Michelangelo is real,
Mhm.
um, and Lord Voldemort is real, and she's having conversations with them. It's clear, like she's very ill, very ill. But I'll get some more on that once we kind of get to the end. I don't know if
Mhm.
it's mentioned here,
Mhm.
but on August 1st, 2014, she was found incompetent to stand trial, and her prosecution was suspended until her condition improved. On December 19th, 2014, the judge ruled that both girls were competent to stand trial. In August 2015, the presiding judge ruled that the girls would be tried as adults. They were tried separately. On
Mhm.
August 21st, 2017, one of the girls, at that time 15, pleaded guilty to being a party to attempted second-degree homicide, but claimed she was not responsible for her actions on grounds of insanity. Although prosecutors alleged she knew what she was doing was wrong, the jury determined that she was mentally ill during the attack. On December 21st, I think it's Waukesha County Circuit Judge Michael Boran sentenced Anissa Weir, then 16, to be hospitalized for 25 years from the date of the crime, which would keep her institutionalized until age 37. In a statement to the media on June 4th, 2014, Eric Knudsen said, this is the creator of Sunderman, quote, I am deeply saddened by the tragedy in Wisconsin, and my heart goes out to the families of those affected by this terrible act. He stated he would not be giving interviews on the matter.
Mhm.
On September 25th, 2017, it was reported that Morgan Geyser, she was the other girl who did this attack, who was 15 at the time, had agreed to plead guilty to attempting to commit first degree homicide in an arrangement that would allow her to avoid jail time. On February 1st, 2018, the Associated Press reported that Geyser had been sentenced to 40 years in the Wisconsin Mental Hospital, the maximum sentence allowed. I do want to add, first degree, the fact that one of them was sentenced to second degree murder
Mhm. Mhm.
is nuts, because this was definitely planned. They had talked about it for months, and they actually, the time where they attacked her, that was their like second or third attempt of doing this attack. They planned this for a really long time, and I don't know how that one got away with being indicted for second degree murder or homicide, whatever they said. But anyways,
Mhm. Mhm.
the stabbing in Wisconsin spawned a nationwide moral panic over Slender Man across the United States. Parents nationwide became worried about the potential dangers that stories about Slender Man might pose to their children's safety. Russell Jack, the police chief of Waukesha, warned that the Slender Man stabbing should be a wake-up call for all parents, that the internet is full of dark and wicked things.
Mhm.
Many media outlets publicized Jack's warning. After hearing the story, an unidentified woman from Cincinnati, Ohio, told a WLWT TV reporter in June 2014 that her 13-year-old daughter had attacked her with a knife and had written um, macabre fiction, some involving the Slender Man, who the mother said motivated the attack. So there's another example. On September 4th, 2014, a 14-year-old girl in Port Richey, Florida, allegedly set her family's house on fire while her mother and 9-year-old brother were inside. Police reported that the teenager had been reading online stories about Slenderman, as well as Atushi Okubo's manga Soul Eater. Eddie Daniels of the Pasco County Sheriff's Office said the girl had visited the website that contains a lot of the Slenderman information and stories. It would be safe to say there is a connection to that. During an early 2015 epidemic of suicide attempts by young people, that was a really bad time, ages 12 to 24, on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, Slenderman was cited as an influence. The Oglala Sioux tribe president noted that many Native Americans traditionally believe in a suicide spirit, similar to the Slender Man. Other Sioux, or I think I'm saying that wrong, but describe the big man as a messenger or sign warning that society is developing in a dangerous direction. Um, so after the stabbings, the Waukesha stabbing and the negative media attention altered the Slender Man legend's image and the online community surrounding it. Meanwhile, by around the same time, the Slender Man character had lost much of its original popularity. Most of the original blogs that had once been devoted to Slender Man either shut down completely or became less popular. Slender Man's presence in mainstream popular culture also contributed to a decline in how frightening he seemed to many people. Yeah,
Mm,
the late 2010s also saw an increase in benevolent portrayals of Slender Man, with many depictions of him from this period portraying him as an antihero who protects victimized children from bullies, although often by violent means. In some portrayals of Slender Man from the late 2010s, he has a daughter named Skinny Sally, who is portrayed as a young girl covered in cuts and bruises. That's terrifying. Slender Man sometimes is portrayed carrying Skinny Sally on his shoulders protectively. Landon McNeil, assistant professor of folklore at Utah State University, observes that the increase in benevolent portrayals of Slender Man seems to have begun shortly after the stabbing in Wisconsin, and states that this trend towards a benevolent Slender Man may be a reaction by fans of the character to the violence of the stabbing.
mhm,
So that's Slender Man.
mhm,
And I forgot I actually am talking a little more about Mothman. I forgot I did that. Um,
mhm,
the thing that I wanted to add about the attacks before we move on, because I think this is important, and I think anyone with children, um, don't ignore signs about this. One of them, I can't remember which one now, um, did have signs that she was schizophrenic. And usually schizophrenia doesn't show itself until you're older. So the fact that it was presenting in her at 12 or before was rare. So maybe that's partly why the parents missed it. But they had picked up on things, but I guess thought that it wasn't necessarily that. But the fact that her father was schizophrenic, but
mhm,
he was on medications, and he was asymptomatic. The fact that he did have schizophrenia
mhm,
is, whether it's genetic or whatever the right term is to say, should have been uh, at least a thing to look at to know whether or not she could potentially have had schizophrenia. Um,
right,
we don't necessarily. I'm not trying to blame her parents. Ultimately, these two girls made a decision and a choice,
mhm, mhm,
and they chose to kill their friend. Um, Even though, by grace of God, she did not die. And um, but they could have maybe caught something sooner, because unfortunately your mind, especially when you're already a child, you're 12 years old, with mental illness aside, you're so susceptible to thinking things are real when they're not.
Mm,
I mean, I used to think Macbeth was real.
mhm,
Macbeth
mhm,
is not real, but that does again goes to show like I wasn't dealing with mental illness or anything of that
mhm.
kind, but you believe the things that is not true and you believe it to be true.
Right.
So like you have to be so careful. Um, yeah, so that's basically that.
Mhm,
Let's move on to something a little more fun, and that's Mothman. So, in American folklore, Mothman is a humanoid creature that was reportedly seen around Point Pleasant, West Virginia from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967.
mhm,
Despite its name, the original sightings of the creature described avian features. The
mhm,
first newspaper report was published in the Point Pleasant Register on November 16th, 1966, titled Couple See Man-Sized Bird, Creature, Something. The
mhm,
national press soon picked up the reports and helped spread the story across the United States. The source of the legend is believed to have originated from sightings of out of migration sandhill cranes of herons. The
mhm,
creature was introduced to a wider audience by Gray Barker in 1970 and was later popularized by John Keel in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, claiming that there were paranormal events related to the sightings and a connection to the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The book was later adapted into a 2002 film starring Richard Gere. Cool.
mhm, mhm,
Um, an annual festival in Point Pleasant is devoted to the Mothman legend. So on November 15th, 1966, two young couples from Point Pleasant, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Millette, told
mhm,
police they had seen a large black creature whose eyes glowed red, standing at the side of the road near the TNT area, the site of a former World War II munitions plant. Linda
mhm,
Scarberry described it as a slender, muscular man, about 7 feet tall, with white wings. However, she was unable to discern its face due to the hypnotic effect of its red eyes. Distressed, the witnesses sped away, reporting that the creature flew after their car, making a screeching sound like a like a screeching sound.
mhm,
Like I'm hearing it in my head right now, what it could have sounded like, and that's terrifying. It pursued them as far as Point Pleasant city limits. Over the next few days, more people reported similar sightings after local newspapers covered it. Two volunteer firemen who saw it said it was a large bird with red eyes. Mason County Sheriff George Johnson believed the sightings were due to an unusually large heron he termed a shite poke. Contractor Newell Partridge told Johnson that when he aimed a flashlight at a creature in a nearby field, its eyes glowed like bicycle reflectors. So red. Additionally, he blamed buzzing noises from his television set and the disappearance of his German Shepherd, Bandit, such a cute name, on Mothman. Wildlife biologist Robert L. Smith at West Virginia University told reporters that descriptions and sightings fit the sandhill crane, a large American crane almost as tall as a man with a 7-foot wingspan and a reddish coloring around its eyes. If you haven't seen this bird, again called the sandhill crane, and you also know what Mothman looks like, trust me, it's potentially this bird. It looks just like what they think Mothman looks like. Anyway, the bird may have wandered out its migration route and therefore was unrecognized at first because it was not native to the region. Due to the popularity of the Batman TV series at the time, the fictional superhero Batman and his rogues gallery were prominently featured in the public eye. While the villain Killer Moth did not appear in the show, the comic book influence of both him and Batman is believed by some to have influenced the coinage of the name Mothman in the local newspapers. Following the December 15th, 1967 collapse of the Silver Bridge and the death of 46 people, The incident gave rise to the legend and connected the Mothman sightings to the bridge collapse. According to Georgian newspaper, I think it's Sovo Bodenia. It's Russian. UFOologists claimed that Mothman sightings in Moscow foreshadowed the 1999 Russian apartment bombings. The Mothman Prophecies, that's the movie in 2002, is a major motion picture loosely based on the 1975 book of the same name by John Keel. In 2016, WCHS-TV published a photo purported to be of Mothman taken by an anonymous man while driving on Route 2 in Mason County. Science writer Sharon Hill proposed that the photo showed a bird, perhaps an owl, carrying a frog or snake away, and wrote that there is zero reason to suspect it is the Mothman as described in legend. There are too many far more reasonable explanations. Folklorist Jan Harold, Brunvind, notes that Mothman has been widely covered in popular press, with some claiming sightings connected with UFOs, and others suggesting that a military storage site was Mothman's home, quote unquote. They note that the reaccountings of the 1966 and 67 Mothman reports usually state that at least 100 people saw Mothman, with many more afraid to report their sightings, and all of them are very similar what they saw. However, he points out that these written sources for such stories consisted of children's books or sensationalized or undocumented accounts that failed to quote identifiable persons. Just gonna go through some more. So, don't want to go too much into all that. So, some pseudoscience adherents, such as ufologists, whatever, paranormal authors, and again, cryptozoologists, suggest the Mothman could be an alien, a supernatural manifestation, or a previously unknown species of animal. However, the latter is highly unlikely, as according to the square cube law, a creature with the 6 to 7 foot height and 10-foot wingspan, as described by Roger Scarberry, would not be able to fly because it's too darn big. In his 1975 book, Keel claimed that Point Pleasant residents experience precognitions, including premonitions of the collapse of the Silver Bridge, UFO sightings, visits from inhuman or threatening men in black, and other phenomena. So that's Mothman. Whether or not you think it's real, like I said, I wonder if I can find a side by side of Mothman and that sandhill crane, or at least show both. Because I know when I looked at the sandhill crane after looking at Mothman, it's um it's pretty similar. But of course, there's only drawings of Mothman because no one's actually like obviously seen this thing. But yeah, this is kind of it could definitely have been a sandhill crane, but Mikel, I'll send those to you so that you can kind of see the similarity between both Mothman and the sandhill crane. But that is it for me. That's it for that.
Saw it was like a normal bird, like, and then
So the sandhill crane is a normal bird. It's an actual bird that exists.
right.
Um, and then there's the Mothman picture that I sent as well. So
Mm,
because again, a lot of these people saw Mothman at night.
right.
So what they're saying is that it's very possible that it could have been a sandhill crane
Uh-huh.
that was outside of its migration, and because it's not native to West Virginia or
Mhm.
that area of West Virginia or whatever. But that it very likely could have been a sandhill crane that they saw.
Mm.
And again, I don't know what sound a sandhill crane makes, but if it sounds like a screeching,
Mhm.
I mean, I think case in point right there. Potentially could have just been a sandhill crane bird that people saw. Doesn't
Right.
explain why I was chasing people's cars, but that's besides the point.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay. Interesting. Interesting stuff that I learned today. So yeah. Hopefully you guys found a lot of that stuff Tanika was talking about interesting. Um, I did. So yeah.
yeah.
Uh, so this ends this episode 141 of the Next Tape podcast. The Next Tape podcast is available now all podcast platforms. We also have a website called Tanika.
Nexttakepodcast.podpage.io.
And where else are we at?
Facebook and Instagram at Next Take Podcast, and Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Next Take Pod.
You can email us at mikeltanika@gmail.com. That is mikeltanika@gmail.com. So that is our second part of our Halloween series called Tanika.
We talked about cryptids, and we also threw in some creepypastas in there as well.
Hmm. Okay. All right. What's the third part going to be about, Tanika?
We're talking sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis? Okay, cool.
Mhm.
All right. That should be interesting. So,
Oh, yeah, interestingly terrifying, but yes.
all right. Okay. I have nothing else to say. Do you have anything else more, or that's it?
That's it for me.
All right. So I'm Mikel, and
And I'm Tanyka.
we're out until
Next week.
next week. Peace, guys.
Bye.